co-host.
It is time. It is Tuesday, and this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, without his sidekick, John DiNallo, who's being very American today. He's working at a polling place because it's election day in Ohio, at least. I guess other places too, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but I know it's election day here. So
it's election day in Ohio, Karen. And thank you for that introduction and to letting us know that John's not here. So, and no one's listening now. He's so popular.
He is.
John is probably listening to us right now. So, hi, John. John is at a polling place. That's right. And today is election day in Ohio, but you don't care because you're watching and listening to What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast.
Very non-political.
That's right. Yeah. No politics. The only politics we'll be talking about. Well, I say that all the time, but we may slip over the line a little bit today. But don't worry, it's not bad politics. It's funny politics. Yep. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We're here at newclevelandradio.net is our platform. Karen Hale is our producer and co-host and media mogul at New Cleveland Radio, where you've got the greatest selection in podcasts in the world, starting with What in the World, where we talk about weird news from around the world. See, who am I? I am the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org. That's how I got into the weird news business. You come to What in the World to laugh. You go to the Mysterious Universe for more in-depth coverage of some of the stranger stories that I talk about. But here we just want to have some fun and get away from the bad news, the business news, the health news, all that other stuff that let the mainstream media talk about that.
That's right.
We're just here to have fun. Speaking of having fun, I had coffee with excuse me, one of the fans of the show, Tom, who I went to high school with. In fact, I went to grade school with. I've known Tom since second grade, and I'll say hello to him if he's tuning in. He came to one of our shows, one or two of our shows, when we were at the Joe Max Donut Shop. And like everybody who came to the shows at Joe Max, they always want to know when we're going back to Joe Max. And I'm sorry, go and have some donuts and think about us. We can't deal with the noise, the background noise of the donut machine stamping and the coffee machine whistling. And as much as we loved being with customers and the client, the people working at Joe Max, but go there for donuts.
Absolutely.
Greatest blueberry donuts. So anyway, so Tom was nice enough to do a plug on our alumni Facebook page for the podcast. So if any of you are here as a result of Tom's interview and that, thanks for coming. It's great to have you here. Also, I want to do a shout out to Jay. I get a little note from Jay all the time whenever I post about the podcast. So I know he's a listener. Jay, thank you for your support. Thank you to everybody who listens to or watches us on YouTube, on Spreaker, on Apple, on all the great platforms. Okay, we got all the business out of the way, Karen. I think so.
I think so. Yep.
Let's get right to some news. What am I talking about today? Oh, a wicked Bible. This is an interesting story. Wicked Bible from New Zealand. Old Testament, Karen. So
my testament.
Your testament. Extraterrestrial seagulls in England. Seagulls from another planet, maybe another solar system in England. Mathematical honeybees in Australia. Oh, this is a good one. I hope I can get to this one. Creepy dolls washing up on the beaches in Texas. We have a number of listeners from Texas. Criminal astronauts in Canada. They had to pass some laws as a result of this. So we'll talk a little bit about those. The first crop circles of 2022. A lot of my paranormal fans like to follow crop circles, with all the rumors about them being made by aliens. So we'll talk a little bit about that. One really strange crop circle. If we get to it, medieval hand grenades were found in England.
Wow.
If you're a Monty Python fan, that'll mean something to you. So hopefully we'll get to that. More odd news and trivia. John's not here, so we won't be doing strange sports, but we will be doing Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news.
I get to win.
You, I'll play for John, so
I'll
make sure but everybody at home can play along as well. We'll still be doing that. So let's see what we've got here for you, Karen, and for all of our podcasting audience. Let's get right to it. So a lot of our audience may be listening to us at work or after work. Many of you have jobs. As I talk to people, I find that many people don't like their jobs. I certainly enjoy mine very much. I know Karen enjoys her, but a lot of people don't like their jobs. But they stick with it nonetheless. You know, you got to pay the bills.
That's right.
This next story is about a guy who has stuck with it longer than anyone in the world. His name is Walter Orthman. He's 100 years old, lives in Brazil. And Walter has been working for the same company since, get ready for this, 1938. That means he's worked for the same company for 84 years.
Wow.
Yeah, since he was 16 years old, a clothing company. He's which puts him in the Guinness Book of World Records. 84 years and 9 days and counting. He's still working there. So Walter Orthman. I think I have a picture of Walter here too. I think he's a we'll salute Walter. There he is.
So very nice.
Yeah, good looking guy. He's got a certificate from the Guinness people. He's got a book. I think it looks like it might be his original ID badge. I don't know. He even has a computer. 100 years old. He's got a computer sitting in front of him. So God bless him.
A tablet.
Yeah, a tablet. Yeah. So yeah, he says that he's kept up with things. You know, the business has changed. He still does a lot of travel. Got a nice jacket hanging up there. So he's in the big Guinness World Record. So 84 years. He has been at this company for so long. He remembers when the Human Resources Department was a coin the owner flipped to decide if you stayed or got fired.
Oh, wow.
You don't need an HR department. You're going to stay, you're going to go. Well, let's flip a coin. Call it heads or tails. They asked him, what's the secret to working for the same company for 84 years? And he said he traded his corner office for the one that's closest to the bathroom. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, I would do the same thing. He's been there so long, he remembers when the coffee pot was once clean. That's how long he's been there. He's been there so long, he remembers the days when if you smelled popcorn, you called the fire department. It's not like today. If you smelled fish cooking, you closed the window because the people down outside were cooking fish. It's not like it is today. If you wanted a company parking space, you had to provide your own hitching post. That's how long he's been there.
Wow.
So Karen, I'll say this: the longest job that I've had in my career was 10 years. I was thinking about this. I worked for a computer company, Tandem Computers, for 10 years. Great job, great company until the very end when the bean counters took over, as I like to say, and it really drove the company away from the great company that it once was. But that's it. I've worked for Messieurs Universe for, I guess, 8 years now. So I'm getting close there. But that's 10 years. This guy worked 84 years at the same job. How about you? What was your longest job?
A little over 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yep.
So we're about the same.
Now, Tandem Computers, wasn't that part of Radio Shack?
No, that was Tandy.
Oh,
T-A-N-D-Y.
okay.
Tandem is like the two-person bicycle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Our claim to, if I can put it in 25 words or less, our claim to fame was our computers had multiple components, like a two-person bicycle, where one would take over in the event that the other had a problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very, very unique, very innovative. And as a result, we were very successful for a good amount of time. but I won't go into the gory details. But it was a great company. To this day, I'm not the only one, but to this day, most of the people I worked with will say that was the best company they ever worked for, best people they ever worked with. It really was a great company. Anyway, so obviously Walter thinks his company's pretty good too, to be there for 84 years. So
Yes.
God bless you, Walter. Congratulations. Now, I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. I'm not a big fan of heights. Heights and I don't get along. I can fly in a plane, but when it comes to tall buildings or looking out the window, I have difficulties there. I can do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. Let's put it that way. How about you, Karen? How are you on heights?
I'm horrible with heights, and especially on high bridges.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Turn your microphone off for a few minutes. Because what we're going to talk about is a bridge in Vietnam. And if you're afraid of heights, avoid this bridge. It's called the Bach Long Bridge, which I think means White Dragon, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 2,073 foot long span over a jungle valley. So let's get ready, Karen. Here's a look at the bridge right here. So it's a pedestrian bridge over a canyon, a chasm in Vietnam. It's in I forget what gorge that is. So this is not only is this a scary high bridge, Karen, but if you take a close look, the floor is made out of glass. So you can look straight down as you're walking, look straight down at the gorge that's underneath you.
Yeah, well, you can do that, not
me. So this bridge is open. It has been battle tested. It can hold up to 450 people. It's a long bridge, 2,000 feet. It can have up to 450 people on it, terrified, of course, all at the same time. If you're the least bit queasy, it's a good idea not to gorge before going over this gorge.
Oh my God. Oh
yeah. I don't, I have a hard time with skyscrapers. The lovely Donna worked on the 70-something floor of a skyscraper in Houston, Texas, when we lived there. And what I used to do is I would get a rope and I would tie it around my waist, and then I would tie it to a doorknob, and then I'd go to the window. And the worst day was when somebody opened the door and I started screaming and they wouldn't let me come up there anymore.
I totally understand.
But it's scary. I showed it this picture to someone and they said, well, just don't look down. Well, that's the whole reason why you go on a bridge like this, other than to get to the other side if you're a chicken, is to look down. That's what I'm sure they charge admission to do this. But they said, just look up. Well, you could fall off the side by looking up.
Yeah.
They said, well, look at your camera, your telephone, your cell phone. And then I'll run into somebody else who's looking at their cell phones. I'm not going to do that either. It's just nothing. So I found a picture of what would be me excuse me, crossing this river, and I'll put it up here and take a drink of water. There we go. That's me.
That would be me. Yes. She's having lots of fun though.
That's a little girl on her belly, crossing it. On her, and I don't think she's even looking down. She's just going over as slowly as she possibly can, swearing at her parents all the way.
Wow.
If I want to get scared, I'll go to Cedar Point, which is the local amusement park. Ride a roller coaster, and then I got all kind of other stuff I can do. So, anyways, all right, I'll take that down, Karen. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
You don't have to. Oh, I'm going to switch right over to the Wicked Bible. That's what we're going to talk about next year. So this story comes from New Zealand, and I thought this was really interesting. The headline said, Wicked Bible found. So I have to look at it. An extremely rare copy of a 1631 that was printed just less than 100 years after the printing press was invented, Bible that has gotten the name Wicked Bible because of a misprint. And I have the page up here. It's the page where Moses is reading to his followers the 10 Commandments. and he gets to the seventh commandment, I think it is, and he says, and it says the sixth commandment, I don't know, whichever one it is. It in this Bible it reads, "Thou shalt commit adultery."
Yes, it does say that.
So believe it or not, yeah, the 1,000 of these were printed in 1631. It came to be known as the Adulterous or the Sinner's Bible, and now it's called the Wicked Bible. 1,000 of them were printed, and they didn't discover the error. And I love that. They didn't discover the error until a year later. So this Bible is in circulation. 1,000 of them are in circulation for a year before they figured out that they were giving the wrong information.
Wow. That is, yep.
Isn't that wild?
So I have a question for you, not being political, of course, but there's an ad on TV that says the Bible is about love, not hate. And I thought, truthfully, that the Bible was more a history than anything else.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. It's not about
how much time do we have?
Well, I'm just, for our listeners out there, my question to you is, the Bible is really a history.
Oh, that sounded more like a statement than a question.
Well, for me, that's what I'm saying.
For you, okay. So for you, the Bible is a history. I'm not going to touch this with an 11.
Okay.
I'm not going to.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the Wicked Bible. I want a copy of it. In fact, there's a paper shortage in New Zealand because there's only 20 left. So somebody bought one of them, this one that they found, and they're busy at Kinko just copying away, so that everybody can have a copy of the Wicked Bible. Because thou shalt commit adultery. The lovely Anna I know is listening, but I wouldn't do. I wouldn't be following this because it's not right.
It is not right.
But so. Another question might be, Karen, what happened to the printers who made the mistake? King Charles I found the printers, Robert Barker and Martin Lucas, and he summoned them to England and hauled them before the court, where they were admonished for their sloppy workmanship. They lost their printing license, which I guess was a big deal back in those days because there weren't that many printers. They had a 300-pound fine assessed to them, but eventually the fine was lifted. They never had to pay the fine. Years later, after protesting, they didn't have to pay the fine. And most of the Bibles, other than the 20 that are still in circulation, were destroyed. I just wonder, this King Charles I, what he would think today. He was so just horrified by one line of this Bible being wrong. If you come to the world today, Karen, and look around and see how many commandments are being violated.
Yeah.
I wonder what Bible are they looking at?
Yeah, you got it. Wow.
So so we'll switch. We're going to switch from the religion to food. I always love talking about food on What in the World. There was a great food story this week. Comes from Tropicana, which are the orange juice people, right? Karen, it's you don't, when you think of Tropicana, you think of orange juice. Tropicana this week came out with Tropicana Crunch, which is the first ever breakfast cereal intended to be eaten mixed with orange juice instead of milk.
My father would have loved that.
Really? Did your father eat?
Well, my father couldn't have milk, and so he would put juice or water on his cereal.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Water I could see. Orange juice, how did he like it? Or did he just do it because he couldn't have milk?
I guess he liked it because he had cereal for breakfast every morning.
and as a follow-up question, did he ever try beer or wine?
Probably not beer, but maybe Manischewitz wine. Yeah.
Manischewitz, the wine that was made for cereal, if I remember. Well, I only tried, I accidentally put orange juice on my Rice Krispies once. and Snap, Crackle, and Pop refused to talk to me for a month. It's just not appealing at all. But apparently they have tailored this particular. I think I have a picture of the. While we're looking, there we go. There's the. It looks like normal cereal.
Yeah.
I can't really tell. The whole picture is so orange with an orange background. It's hard to tell if there's an orange tint to the cereal. But they're selling it. I suppose it's worth a try. It certainly can't be the worst cereal ever made. And I think we've talked about this on What in the World before, what people think the worst cereal is. Fruit Loops for me was one that I really did not enjoy. It's always a bad sign when you buy something that has fruit in the name and the lawyers say it can't be spelled Fruit because there's no Fruit in Fruit Loops. That's a bad sign. The second bad sign is when you pour milk onto Fruit Loops and the milk turns gray, because when you add all those colors together, they end up being as close to black as possible, which in milk is gray.
Yep.
What fruit is gray, Karen?
I don't know of any.
Other than the one that's the plum that got stuck in the fruit drawer. And a year later, you found it.
You got it. Yep, that's
it. Not appealing at all. The other one that I thought was interesting, I was looking up some cereals. This was one here. Frosted Flakes with energy clusters. Now, Frosted Flakes is high on everybody's list of favorite foods, especially those of us of a certain age who grew up on Frosted Flakes. You don't mess with a good thing. You don't add energy. You don't add anything to Frosted Flakes. Certainly not something healthy. Flakes and sugar. That's the recipe. Stick with it. Tony the Tiger said they're gross. There's my impression for the week. Where's the I don't know what does Bigfoot say about that impression?
Oh, Bigfoot, come on.
He doesn't like it. Okay. Thank you, Bigfoot. John's not here to groan, so we'll ask Bigfoot. All right. So let's speaking of John, I did have a sport that I wanted to talk to him about. I'll mention this one next week. This was a news item from North Yorkshire, England. 4 skateboarders, and I think I have a picture of them. 4 skateboarders held hands. They have helmets on here. They held hands and they skated down a hill in North Yorkshire, England, and broke a Guinness World Record by reaching a speed of, get ready, 52.8 miles per hour.
Wow.
4 people, each one on their own skate, all holding hands, 50 to almost 53 miles an hour, faster than you can drive on most streets in the United States. They could have gone faster, Karen, but they passed by a pub and they saw that there was a table for 4 open, and they decided to pull over and have a drink. And
hey, I don't blame them. They probably needed it. Yep.
This should not count as a sport. If you're going downhill, other than skiing, this should not count as a sport. You're rolling. That's not a sport. You're rolling. It's like, what if you bowled? What if a bowling alley were on a hill? Would that count as bowling?
Well, you'd have to have accuracy, getting it down the hill. So yeah,
I don't know. If this would be a debate for John. Gravity would add to the acceleration and speed of the ball, so that the pins might scatter harder and faster and farther as a result.
Hey,
what about football? What if football were played on a giant table, where you could tilt the field towards the goal? So you were throwing the ball, you were running downhill and throwing the ball downhill, and defense was playing uphill. Would that be fair?
Well, you know how my husband thinks that basketball should be played?
Oh, no.
There should be a hill in the middle of the floor with a windmill.
With a
windmill. Yeah, absolutely. Windmill. He says then he would watch basketball.
Not a big sports fan, Rich is.
You got it.
Outside of baseball, I think
Yep.
maybe that's it. He's trying to drive people away from all the other sports to baseball, because I know he's a huge baseball fan.
Yes, he is.
And your whole family is. Okay. This isn't exactly a sport, but it could be. A fish lover, a tropical fish lover in Taiwan, invented a pushable aquarium on wheels with a battery-powered filtration system. I'm going to show you a picture of him right here. Battery-powered filtration system and an air pump to pump oxygen into the water so that he can take his goldfish for walks in the park. And that's what this picture is. It looks like a modified shopping cart with a giant tube of goldfish and water, and little tubes connected to it to pump the bubbles in and all that. And that's what he does, Karen. He goes to the park with his fish and walks around.
God love him that he, cares about his fish so much, but I don't think they could care less about going for a walk in the park.
Well, he found that out because, he thought the fish liked it. And then another inventor came up to him with a fish tank filled with piranhas. And, next thing you know, the piranha guy was chasing him out of the park. Now, but I mentioned the story to somebody else and they agreed with you. They said maybe the guy's best friend is his goldfish, and this is his way of taking care of his best friend. And I thought, well, okay, but he needs at least one human friend so he can go to the park by himself and let the human friend stay at the apartment and watch the goldfish for him. You need to have more friends than goldfish.
Yeah, I think so.
That's my philosophy, and I'm sticking to it. So anyways, so speaking of animals, let's take some pictures down here for a little while. Speaking of animals, Karen, and this is a segue into bees, but what's the difference between odd numbers and even numbers?
Even numbers are divisible by 2.
Divisible by 2. There you go. The simple answer. You remember that from math class. Even numbers are divisible by 2. Until recently, the only creatures in the world, possibly in the universe, who understood that the difference between odd and even were humans. Until recently, when some scientists in where were they at? Let's see. Okay, let's say they're in Las Vegas.
What's the number sound?
New study from the Journal of Frontiers in Ecology and Evolution. They trained honeybees to recognize the difference between odd numbers and even numbers. Yeah.
I didn't think bees even had brains.
Yeah. Oh, Karen, don't go offending our bee watchers, our bee listeners here, or beekeepers who might be listeners as well. Bees are smart, I guess. I guess they have brains. So they did basically what they did was they took numbers, dots, and for like an even number of dots, they had sugar on the little card, and for odd numbers of dots, they had quinine. And the bees were able to tell the difference between the even and odd in order to get the sugar water instead of the quinine, which they didn't like. Which, sounds impressive. I'd be more impressed if at some point the bees would swarm into a formation and spell out blackjack. That would be impressive. And believe it or not, I was in Las Vegas once, and that's why I had Las Vegas on the brain. I was in Las Vegas once where I actually was playing blackjack at a table, and there was a bee playing blackjack next to me. Hard to believe. People were all standing around. They couldn't believe that this bee is playing blackjack and doing really well until he needed another card, and the bee said, "Hit me." And
oh no.
And that was the end of the bee playing blackjack. So anyways, now, as we always say, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about bad news, but I thought this was an interesting story. The mask mandates are ending all around the country, so people are no longer wearing masks. What we have now are piles of used masks and piles of unused masks. So we have masks all over the place. We need to do something with them. In Washington State, Washington State University, a research team figured out how to make cement out of old mask. Yeah, and not only that, but yeah, after a month of curing, which is what they do for after you cement something, the building material made with mask was 47% stronger than regular cement. I say this is concrete evidence that masks work.
Long
way to go for that
one.
Where's the Bigfoot says, I agree, Bigfoot. I agree. All right. So Karen, for those of you who don't know, and maybe we've talked about this a little bit, Karen is in the business of selling computers in her little bit of spare time that she has. And her husband, Rich, who we've mentioned before, is in the business of installing computers and software, if I'm not mistaken. So she has a connection with computers. So and I worked in the computer business for a number of years. I've never heard this before. There's a Shinto shrine in Tokyo, in Japan, that sells a computer function amulet. In fact, I think I have a picture of one here. It's a lucky charm, basically, for computer owners. And oh no, that's maybe I don't have one. Oh, I guess I don't. Okay. All right, we'll take that back down. So it looks like a little card with chips on it, but it's just printed. It's like about the size of a credit card. So this amulet, it allegedly is blessed by the Shinto priest. It's to keep your computers from freezing, restarting randomly, and they also are guaranteed to prevent viruses and malware. So all you have to do is send money to this Shinto temple, and they will send you back one of these computer card amulets that protects your computer. It must work, because I went down to the unemployment office the other day, and there was a big long line of Microsoft engineers waiting to get in to collect. They're out of business, no more blue screen.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can't go to Japan. So I went to my Catholic priest over it. I won't mention the name of the church that I belong to, but I went over there, and I thought maybe I can get a Catholic amulet. So because my PC went down. So I took it to my priest and I explained the problem, and he says, "Oh, I got just a thing." I showed him the amulet. I had a lucky charm that I was using, and he said it wasn't the computer problem. It was that my lucky charm had a virus, and he accused me of using it while watching porn. And I said, no, I wouldn't have used my lucky charm while watching porn. And he wouldn't give me a new one. He wouldn't bless it until I went to confession, which is, that's not fair. So don't get your computer lucky charm from the Catholic Church. Go to the priest for it.
Or don't watch porn. Or watch porn.
There you go. Don't watch porn. That's right. This is a hypothetical, just so you know. That was a hypothetical joke that didn't work. Bigfoot did the same way. I know. Yeah. Bigfoot. Yeah, I agree, Bigfoot. Okay, so we were talking about, I mentioned this at the beginning, astronauts getting into trouble, the criminal astronaut. And this comes from Canada. And we're seeing more and more astronauts from Canada. So there was a proposed amendment this week to the Canadian Criminal Code to cover criminal astronauts. These are astronauts who may be going to the moon and with the intention of committing a crime while on the moon. If they should do that, this new criminal code states that they would be charged the same punishment as if they committed the crime in Canada. Now, I happen to watch the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, for news occasionally. Mere minutes after that news hit, they already had lawyers on there saying, if you've been charged with a crime on the moon, call me. I can get you off.
Oh, my God.
But they're seriously thinking about this. They're preparing for astronauts to commit crimes in space, and they need to have laws and apparently lawyers to take care of it. What's this world coming to, Karen?
Just leave them up there.
Now there's a solution. There's a solution right there. Okay. But this was, now we all watched the, well, if we didn't watch the Academy Awards, we certainly heard about the Academy Awards and what happened there. So this was interesting. This has to do with the Academy Award. Researchers from the University of Toronto studied 2,111 actors from 1929 to 2020 who were nominated for an Academy Award, and found that actors who win an Oscar are more likely to live to the age of 81, while those who are nominated but don't win or are never nominated only live to the age of 76. So winning an Oscar gives you 5 more years of life on average than not, which is good news for Will Smith. And he could certainly use some good news, because other than that, it's all bad news for him.
He can't go to the Oscars for quite a while. Yeah.
No. But I was thinking about this. All the older actors and actresses who haven't won an Academy Award yet are going to start demanding to get an honorary one so they can get an extra 5 years.
Absolutely.
I certainly would. I would, yeah. All right. So I had a picture of my crop circle up there. So I want to put that up there for the listeners and viewers on YouTube who are crop circle fans. Now, this is the first crop circle of 2020, reported by the website Crop Circle Connector, which is a great source for crop circles. They're in England. They have drones flying all over the place, and they take the really great pictures of crop circle. The problem with this one, Karen, is that it's very simplistic. Most of the crop circles have tons and tons of circles and swirls and different figures. This is basically one circle. It looks like a die, like we were talking about before. 5 dots on a die and a circle connecting the 4 on the outside. My theory on this is that the aliens who make crop circles have been under COVID lockdown for so long, they've forgotten how to make good crop circles. So this is the best they can do. So they really need to start practicing and get a little better. As I was getting ready to doing the research on this one, I found another crop circle. Now this one doesn't qualify for the being the first in 2022, but it's certainly the most unique already of 2022. Now this one, and I'll put the picture up here so you can see it. Take a look at it.
Excuse me?
That is a non-circular crop circle in the shape of a male member.
Yeah, children, close your eyes.
262 feet long. It was found in a meadow in Swindon in North Wiltshire, England, which is near Stonehenge. So this is a big crop circle area. It was visible from satellites. That's how big it was. So there was a number of reasons why they were promoting it, other than the fact that it was shaped not circular by any stretch of the imagination. Right. If this is aliens, it's proof that they have a sense of humor. It's, but if it's indicative of aliens, we should be very afraid. If this is a selfie, we should be very afraid. Anyways, all right, Ken, I'll take it down. The kids can come back and watch the show.
Okay, kids, come on back.
So now we were talking about this just before we went on the air about aliens. So I did a couple of stories for Mysterious Universe this week about a guy by the name of Nick Pope. Now, Nick Pope is a UFO expert. And I always hesitate to use the term expert to describe people, because 9 times out of 10, the ones that call themselves experts really aren't. But this guy is a bona fide, legitimate UFO expert. He works for the Department of the Ministry of Defense in England for a number of years. And his job was to research UFO sightings. So he had access to all the pictures, all the reports. He knows his stuff. He retired from the Ministry of Defense, and now he's an investigator, an independent investigator. And whenever there's anything he can link to UFOs, he likes to do that. So this is the guy, I've talked about him before. He warned that that aliens are afraid of Vladimir Putin because he invaded Ukraine. He said they like Queen Elizabeth II because she's a nice old lady, but they don't like Harry and Andrew. And that aliens are afraid of Will Smith, who we just talked about a second ago, because of what he did at the Oscars. Okay, so now he's warning that aliens, that Elon Musk, who just bought Twitter, is going to get aliens upset at us again, because Musk is shutting down certain posts on Twitter, and posts that don't look like they're real. And what Nick Pope says is that those might be posts from aliens who are trying to communicate with us.
Right, of course.
What better way to communicate with a large number of human beings on Earth than to send out a tweet? Now, I talk about time travelers all the time. They've already got a lock on TikTok. So I think he may be onto something here. So he's asking Elon Musk to, instead of blocking tweets from aliens, we should open up Twitter so that all of us can start looking for tweets that might be from aliens. Now,
okay,
how would you know?
They all are foreign to me.
So he gives some information. He says to look for look for tweets that contain, and this is a quote, a major unsolved problem in mathematics, physics, or computer science, something advanced but verifiable. So I was thinking, I've been on Twitter since day one. I've never seen a mathematical problem, a sophisticated mathematical problem. The only ones are puzzles, or is this dress green or is it blue?
Yeah.
That's it. If that came from aliens, we have nothing to worry about. I don't think so. But he says they're paying close attention to us. And he says that if this is true, and this is why I like him, because he does a lot of what ifs. He says, if this is true, aliens must think that Elon Musk is our leader, because he has more money than anybody in the world. He runs companies that are bigger than most companies in the world, certainly now that he owns Twitter. And he has power over, at one time, the president of the United States, now the former president of the United States, with his ban, with a company that had banned the president, former president. Aliens come here, they see all that, they're thinking Elon Musk must be the leader of the globe, of the
right,
planet.
yeah.
And that makes sense. That actually makes sense. I hate to say it, but it does. It makes sense. So he says, he says that the alien tweet would be like a calling card, an extraterrestrial calling card, and what better person to go to than Elon Musk to be our representative? And at that point, I said, now I'm afraid. I don't think Elon Musk should be. I was buying it up until then, but I'm not sure I want Elon Musk to be representing me to space aliens. So this was a double week for Mr. Nick Pope, because he had another story just a couple days after that, and this is the one where we were really laughing before the show. He has a new theory that aliens are already spying on humans. That would be us, or at least most of us. I guess they're spying on us. Now, how would they be spying on us? They're smarter than just using telescopes from their planet. What he believes is that they have either replaced real seagulls with robotic seagulls, and the robotic seagulls are recording us and sending videos back to the home planet so that their army can prepare to attack and destroy us. Now, if they're not quite that, or maybe if they're more sophisticated, they're taking seagulls and they're brainwashing them and communicating telepathically with the seagulls, convincing them to go away from the French fries and that they like so much, and the fish, and start watching the humans and sending this information back. And he says that if there's no seagulls in the area, they would also be doing the same thing with houseflies. So, well, now think about it, Karen. We've talked about flying robots on the podcast before, and they're making those flying robots really tiny. They're getting down to the size of an insect, not quite a housefly, but that's only what we get to see. And that's what Nick Pope says. He says, it's like stealth bombers and stealth planes. Stealth planes existed long before we actually saw them. So it could be that we humans already have these little spy devices installed in flying seagulls, robotic seagulls, or robotic housefly. You don't know, except there's a group of people who has already said that they believe it. And that's the group that calls themselves the birds aren't real conspiracy theorists.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, I forget what his name is. It's a college student.
Actually, he dropped out of college.
He's a college dropout. Yeah.
Yep.
And he needed something to do to entertain himself. So he came up with the idea that he was going to go downtown. I believe it was in Memphis, Tennessee. He went to downtown Memphis, Tennessee, and he got a bullhorn and some signs that said birds aren't real. And he started making things up. I'm sorry to tell you this, people. He started making things up about birds not being real, that birds were actually robots, that the government in this case was using to spy on us. And he now has 1 million followers.
I'm one of them.
Really? So
I just want to see where he's going.
Well, I always say to people, you should go to church just in case there is a God. Cover all your bases. And that's what you're doing, Karen, just in case they might be robotic seagulls.
Exactly.
Go ahead and follow him. Even though he says it was just the most absurd thing I could think of. He admits that it's a fraud, a hoax. So now he's got partners. He has people working for him. They go out and yell about, I'm angry and and it's the birds. And he's wake up, America, birds are not real. They're a myth. They're an illusion. I don't know what to say.
It's possible that when Hitchcock made the movie The Birds, he knew what he was writing about.
He was ahead of his time.
He was.
He could have been ahead of his time. He certainly was a brilliant person. So now I want to get back to Nick Pope and really this whole robotic bird thing in general, because Nick Pope gives a reason why birds would be a good choice, assuming that's exactly what's happening. And that is that they're everywhere, especially seagulls. They're everywhere and they're annoying. If you go to a seafood restaurant on a beach, they're flying all over the place. If you're eating outside, they're trying to eat the food off your plate. You can just Google it on YouTube. You can see them snatching chips, French fries, and food and buns just out of the hands of people. So they're chasing, and then they're pooping all over their cars in the parking lot. So you've got poop, you've got stealing food. They're so annoying that you're so busy chasing them away, you don't notice the one that's sitting on the fence that's watching everything that you do and sending that information back to the home planet.
Wow.
Look at these humans. They can't even deal with birds. They're no match. We'll overrun them. We can send the B team. We can send the C team. We can send the rookies. It doesn't matter. We've got them. So, Karen and all of you out there in podcast land, think it's something to think about. I am not saying that birds aren't real. I'm saying that it's something to think about. And I always like those kinds of stories. So let's since we have so many listeners in Texas, I want to do this Texas story. This comes from the Gulf Coast area around Corpus Christi and Matagorda Island, and there's a South Padre Island. So when you mention those names to Texans and even people outside of Texas, the first thing they think of is spring break, because the beautiful beaches, great nature preserves, and that's where a lot of people like to go for spring break. So not anymore, Karen, because
No.
those beaches are slowly but surely being covered by things like this. Let's see if I can put a picture up here while I'm talking about it. Not that picture right there, but oh, there we go.
Oh my.
Yeah, they're being covered by weird, creepy dolls that are washing ashore, and they can't figure out why. So this is a picture of a hand holding a doll, and instead of hair, it looks like it has muddy seaweed on its head. There's mud all over it. The clothing is tattered, and it looks like it's been out in the ocean for a long time. The Gulf, one eye can't stay open. So they're worried. This Jace Tennell, who is the director of the Mission Aransas Reserve. Aransas is an island where the whooping cranes go when they migrate south. So this is a huge place if you want to go to see whooping crane. And these people are there to preserve the whooping crane. So they're on the beach trying to clean it up so that the whooping cranes and the turtles that live there can nest. And they're finding this stuff on the beach. These here's another one. So the first one that they found, Jace Tennell was saying, the first one that we found was a sex doll, of course, and it still had the head on it. So he says, I posted a picture of it on Facebook. They have a fifth where I got these pictures from their Facebook page, and he says, he didn't know that it was a sex doll. Then he put it on Facebook, and of course, everybody in the world said, "What are you doing putting sex dolls on our Mission Aransas Facebook page?" So he says they got a lot of followers after that. Not only that, they got offers to buy it. So this is it. Now I don't have a picture of it, but I'm sure it looks something like this one here. It's all beat up and dirty all over the place. They sold it for $35. And they donated the proceeds to a sea turtle rescue program. So what they figured, I think I have one more picture here. There you go. That's a pretty creepy one right there. Look at the eyes. That the eyes are all dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mud coming out of its mouth. It's really, really gross and creepy here. So what they think is that the Gulf of Mexico is swirling. So it's picking up plastic and swirling it around and swirling it towards this curve that forms Padre Island and Corpus Christi, that area over there. And because dolls are made out of hard plastic and they're circular, they have air inside of them. So they float. So rather than sinking like plastic bags, they float to the surface. And that's why the dolls are floating onto the beach. What he can't figure out is where the dolls are coming from. Who is putting the dolls into the Gulf of Mexico in the first place? Now, one theory on that is that the dolls are haunted. And we've talked about haunted dolls on the program before. The dolls are haunted, and someone is trying to punish Texas for all the things that it's been doing. Basically, just for being Texas, for being arrogant, we're better than everybody else. Don't mess with Texas. So these haunted dolls are coming as payback for all those bumper stickers that I used to see when I lived in Texas. Don't mess with Texas. So you know what? If you want the dolls to stop, maybe take the bumper stickers off or get a little nicer bumper sticker. The dolls will be happy. And maybe you will too. And maybe the kids start coming back to Padre Island for the spring break. Or maybe not. No. But I thought the creepy looking dolls floating in Texas. What a better story for it. Couldn't have a better story for What in the World, especially for our fans down in Texas. That would be Tex Chick and Mark in Austin and Steeler Girl as well. So let me think. Is there somebody else? The High Priced Import. So they should remember when Rush Limbaugh first started. I actually used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. They had Limbaugh rooms at restaurants, and business people would go to the restaurant and they would ask specifically for a table in the Limbaugh room so that they could eat lunch and listen to Rush Limbaugh back when he was entertaining. Maybe our fans down in Texas should do the same thing. Go to Ninfa's, which is the number one of the top Mexican restaurants in Houston. Go to Ninfa's, pitch them on the idea of having a what in the world room. And
absolutely.
there you go. Order some nachos and some enchiladas and margaritas and have a nice Mexican hour listening to the What in the World podcast. But in fact, Karen, maybe we should propose this to all of the cities where our listeners are around the world.
That would be wonderful.
It's a revolution, a What in the World lunch revolution.
Once a week.
Once a week.
They just get together.
There you go.
Yes.
How about that? Let us know if you do that. We'll give you a shout out. But and at the end of lunch, while you're arguing over the how much to tip, you can be playing Bluff the Co-host, which is everybody's favorite weird news game, and it always shows up at the end of the What in the World podcast. So for those of you who are regular listeners know how to play. For those of you who are new, Bluff the Co-host is a game where I read 3 stories similar to the ones that we've been listening to, but one different, and that is that not all of them are real. Some or all of them may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen and John when he's here, and all of you at home listening on the podcast to decide whether it's real or a bluff. So wagering is allowed, so place your bets. Karen, put your hand on the buzzer. I'll play for John. I'm ready.
You know the answers. That's not fair.
Okay. All right. You play for yourself. We'll see if you win or lose this week.
Okay.
Let's get right to story number 1. You may not have bought a bag of bugle-shaped corn snacks in a while, but you may want to after hearing this. A mom in Oklahoma who bought a bag for her kids saw some strange-looking horns when she poured them into a bowl. Instead of bugles, 2 of them looked like saxophones, and one was a skinny, burnt one that resembled a clarinet. She decided to put the set of 3 up for sale on eBay, and now she can afford a couple of cases of bugles. The corn saxophones and the clarinet sold for $150, and the buyer even sent a special padded box to ship them in. General Mills, the makers of bugles, can't explain what happened, but plans to use the mom in a new commercial. So, bugles, corn snacks shaped like corn saxophones, and a burnt corn clarinet got the lady $150. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
You know, people see things in paintings and in clouds and in food. I'm going to say it's sadly true.
Sadly true. You don't get extra points for adding any emotion to the answer.
No.
You still get 1 point if you're right and none if you're wrong. So you're saying that it's a sadly true story.
Yep.
I'm sure John would disagree, but John's not playing. So all we have is Karen. Karen says it's true. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, sadly, Karen, that's a bluff.
Thank God. Okay. I feel better now.
That's a bluff. Nobody would pay $150 for a burnt bugle shaped like a clarinet.
Are you crazy? Yes, they would.
Well, not this week. And that's where we're taking our story from. Okay. All right. So far the score is 0. Because there's only one team. I like that. That's funny. Okay. So anyway, give myself a horn. I lost my horn. Where's Bigfoot? Even Bigfoot like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he's cheering for you, Karen. So here we go.
Okay.
Put your hand on the buzzer. Story number 2. You've seen people with tattoos covering their bodies, people with horn implants on their heads, and split tongues in their mouths like snakes. But you've never seen anything like a 22-year-old man in New Mexico who couldn't wait to be old enough to look like Santa Claus. So he's going through a complete body modification to change into the jolly old elf at 22 years old. He convinced a plastic surgeon to add fat to his cheeks, both the facial ones and the other ones, and give him a silicone belly that shapes like a bowl of jelly. A tattoo artist agreed to make the fake cheeks red and line his face with wrinkles, while a hair implant specialist injected white hair plugs into his chin and his head. The fake Santa hopes to have his new look ready by Christmas so he can pay back the loans he took out for his Kringle conversion. All right, Karen. Man, it's in a young guy, 22 years old, New Mexico, decides he wants to be Santa Claus. So he does a complete body makeover, including white hair plugs in his face and head to become Santa. Real or bluff?
John, where are you when I need you? But this better be fake, because not only does this guy have a problem, but anybody who's helping him has a problem.
I don't anybody. So this is this sadly true, or this is
no? It better be fake.
Oh, better be fake. So sadly,
Yeah.
sadly a fake. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Karen says this is a sad bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, "Oh, this time you're right, Karen. That is a
Yay!"
Who would do something like that? And the answer to that is, I'm sure there's somebody. I hope it's not someone who's getting the idea from What in the World. That's all I have to say. Let's see. So that means the score is now 1. Karen is in the lead. How about that?
I'm in the lead.
So let's get right to story number 3. Oh, points are doubled, Karen, by the way.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
could win against myself.
Really, there you go. Runaway victory here. So story number 3. The trophy, gold medal, or prize money awarded in most races generally goes to the fastest, but not on the island of Guernsey in the English Channel, where a popular bicycle race is won by the person who completes the course in the slowest time. There are a couple of catches. The course is on a winding road that goes uphill, and the cyclist must keep their feet on the pedals at all times. If you put a foot down or fall over before crossing the finish line, you're disqualified. The course is only 250 meters or 820 feet long, but this year's winner managed to set a new record by completing it in 18 minutes. Needless to say, even turtles were impressed. So, a race on the Guernsey Island where you have to stay on a bicycle riding uphill, and the person who stays on the longest without putting their foot down wins. And the winning time was 18 minutes. I don't know what the prize was, but knee pads maybe.
Wow.
Real or bluff? I forgot to say real or bluff in case you forgot what the two options were. I know some of our listeners have a hard time keeping that straight.
So they're riding uphill. They have to keep pedaling.
Have to keep pedaling. Can't stop.
Yeah.
Can't fall down. Can't put your foot down. Can't put the kickstand down.
I'm gonna say it's a true story. It's like possible.
It's like possible. No definitive answers this week on What in the World.
I just said it. I'll go with it. Yes, true.
Look, you'll go. So you'll go with real. Let's check with the judges on that. And the judges say you went with the right choice, Karen. That is a real story. I can't imagine. I can't ride for 5 minutes anywhere without having to put my foot down. So that amazes me. 18 minutes, not even on a unicycle. I could see on a unicycle, but on a regular bicycle. So that's real. That means the score is 3, and Karen is the winner this week. Oh, John, if you're listening, John,
better study.
Yeah. I happened to talk to his lovely wife this weekend, and she says, better believe it, he's always studying for What in the World. I hope everybody out there listening is as well. There's plenty of weird stories out there. If you want to catch me on some of them, by all means, please do. We hope you enjoy What in the World. We certainly do. Every week, this is the fun time for me, Tuesdays at 3:30.
Absolutely.
We always have a great time. We're glad that you're with us. I want to thank Karen Hale, our producer and co-host and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Thank you, Karen, as always, for everything that you do for our show and for all the podcasts at New Cleveland Radio. A lot of great podcasts, a lot of celebrity interviews. Karen was talking about some celebrity interviews this week. Please check it out, newclevelandradio.net. Look up my name first. As always, listen to What in the World, and then check on some of the other ones.
We got it.
whatever platform you listen to us on, please follow, like, kiss the screen. I don't know whatever you're supposed to do to make it so that we know that you're listening and we can get some good counts. We like to see when we have listeners in India and the listeners in China and in Turkey and Saudi Arabia and all over the place. It's just so rewarding and fulfilling and cool to find out that we have listeners all over the world. So I want to thank all of you, and also all the local people too. All my friends from high school that I run into occasionally at college. Thank you as well for listening. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell anybody who will listen.
Tell the fake birds.
Tell the robotic. Watch out for the robotic bird. I know this is going to come up again, Karen. We're going to get views on this. All right, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. And don't forget, Sunday's Mother's Day.